Hey everyone, it's me coming on strong. Hope you're feeling blessed no matter where you are. I am not changing as a person, I'm just changing the message. Basically, putting the name of God's plan kind of deterred persons from who I truly am and what I'm truly trying to bring to the table of this YouTube world. And I feel like my name kind of got lost against and within the boxes that people like to put me in. You use a word like God, and automatically people think you're going to be, input into the box of, let's say, religion or to some type of tutorial on verses, etc. But our souls are so much farther reaching within the scape of source that we all stem from. Our soul spark, our oversoul, is something that is so grand. And unfortunately, in the world we live in, the word God throws people because there is this limited box, like I said, that they wish to put the creator in. And I do not speak to that. I speak to the gnosis that is within my soul. I speak to the gnosis that is ever evolving on this planet. And I speak to the inner knowing that a lot of us are starting to remember and have tapped into. And realistically, why I chose the title I did is because I want to talk to you guys about the aspects of our personality, the aspects of our oversoul that we encompass within this three-dimensional being. Because to know thyself is one of the hardest ponderings that we can ever achieve in this lifetime, or any lifetime for that matter, within a density such as this. And when I say the word density, when we say 3D density, it means that we are actually living within the world of matter. And you would imagine, as light beings being shoved into matter bodies, that eliminates or kind of smallens our capacity to understand our truest aspects. And all the aspects would be like, let's say, the flavors in our recipe of our oversoul. So as we transcend the matter or the body in all ways, shapes, and forms, when we move from a density to a density to a density, all that's happening is more light is interjecting into that dense space, and matter is being absolved and turned into light. So you would have more so of a movement towards the higher frequencies emotions, and you wouldn't spend most of your time in the denser lower self emotions that ones would imagine are negative. And in this world, as our gnosis is starting to creep through and get through all the cracks of this matter, we are here primarily to show people that this awakening is one of ourselves, because each one of us is a old soul. And a lot of people keep talking about this idea of like past lives, and it's not to say that we don't have past lives, but I'm always of the thinking that all lives are continuously happening all at the same time. So when you live in a form of eternal now, which we all are in, the past, the future, the now are all present. So therefore, our past lives are actually happening at the same time. And the aspects they speak of our higher selves, because we're not just a higher self, we're an oversoul, let's say one large light, one large soul that encompasses all the flavors or the aspects of our makeup. Because these aspects of our personality that make up our personality are so intrinsically tied into who we are. And the whole point of our ascension is to try to tie back into who we are. What did we forget? What was the amnesia we went through when we came through in utero into this matter density? So a being of light that is then captured and encased and incarcerated in a form of matter, it makes it very difficult for us to remember all of that of which we are. And realistically, that is the whole progression of what we're going through right now. Realizing what our aspects truly are, they are alivening and they are being shown to us more so, or at least acknowledged more so, because of all of the goings on in the world. It's like as if right now, the stage that we're set in, meaning the world, is under a lot of turmoil, and it's designed that way to trigger those aspects within ourselves. So some will have more aspects than others because maybe they chose to change their mode of existence more times than others. For example, let's say you decided to stay angelic for the last millennia or the last million years. Your aspect would be very closely tied to, let's say, the the vibrational existence of an angel. And let's say you didn't choose to go and venture and try different galactic suits on, or different galactic lifestyles on, or different interdimensional existences either. The more you have decided to, let's say, season your recipe, the more aspects you would have, and the more aspects would be within you. And like I said, there are things, they are parts of you that have always existed. They're the types of things that this system has suppressed for a very long time, being copacetic and being neutral. So as long as the balance of good and bad was kind of equated, like some bad was a little bit worse, but now the scales have tipped so much so that all the aspects that do not resonate with that unbalancing of the polarities are starting to surface to the forefront. So these aspects are ones that you have within you that are starting to chime up. Like, let's say, for example, you have a warrior aspect in you. Let's say, for example, you have a biohealth aspect in you. Let's say you have a Gaia etheric nature-based aspect inside of you. With the turmoil that is being created, let's say for the abomination of the environment or of the oceans or that of the air, or that of, let's say, human decency and human depravity, you'll notice that these aspects that were in you initially when the scales were kind of balanced in the polarity, let's say the matrices was not too far tipped. So your aspects never had a reasoning to surface or to ascend or to grow, or let's say find their way out. And now, because of how unbalanced things are, these aspects that somewhat lay dormant, they were always in you, but they didn't chime up. They weren't screaming inside of your soul as much as they are now. And those are the intrinsic parts of you that have always been. So there are things that everyone would know about you. They are things that, like, should you die, you will be most remembered for. They are the quirks. They are the anomalies that make up who you are as a personality. So, for example, some of us are peacekeepers. Some of us, like I said, are warriors. Like, there are those that in a, let's say, an inhumane situation will react, whereas others will be there to nurture, and those will be there to save lives in medical capacity. We will have different aspects differing between us all when the same situation, corrupt situation, hits our doorstep. So what I will say is that in this time, it is very imperative to listen and to acknowledge those higher selves, because the higher selves are trying to show you who you truly are, and not who you are in this lifetime, but who you've always been. Because I personally don't come from the school of thought that our lifetimes are dependent on time. I feel like our lifetimes are dependent on soul evolution. So at this point in time, you could have multiple lives concurrently revoluting within this time as well, or what we would call time, like, or in this lifetime. The reason why I say that is because of one simple idea. Whenever you're dreaming, there is a stark understanding, and I hope you do analyze the dreams. Dreams are the unconscious self, and 80% of our life is actually regulated and created from our unconscious self. So that area of existence shows us that when we are sleeping, we sometimes don't stay, what I will try to make you guys understand, in the same setting. You don't have the same background. You don't have the same, let's say, playing out in your dreams. You could be in one place and then you'll shift to another place, and then sometimes the way people dress and where you are is different. You don't have to necessarily just be on this planet. You could be in different locations astronomically. And what is curiouser and curiouser about that is that you are supposedly gone for 8 hours. Yet, if you are truly aware of your dreams, pay attention to ideas of, let's say, the days shifting to nights, the seasons changing over, the different weather that you're interfacing. Because let's just put it this way, you're not just there for one day. So if you're able to live out a part of your existence every night that you were supposedly asleep for 8 hours, and you could feel like you're in another stage or another background or another play for, let's say, a month's worth of time, then hop to another stage and maybe stay there for a couple of days or be aware of it for a couple of days, then wake up into this reality. Do you think that, especially for those that pay attention to their dreams proficiently, you'll realize that you are actually going to the same locations, the same storylines, and you'll notice that you have the same participants in those dreamscapes. Why is this? Because perhaps you are really truly existing on multiple planes of existence. You could be having those multiple lives concurrently with the life you're currently living here. So realistically, your oversoul is always evolving at the same time. What you're learning in one dreamscape or one reality is different than what you learn here. What you learn in another reality is different than what you've learned there. So you're always learning and evolving no matter what play or background is in the background. And you will take with you that knowledge or that gnosis no matter which life you are stepping into or aware of. And when I mean aware, here's the thing. You believe no matter where you are stationed within the dream world or worlds, that it is you. Do you find that ironic? How many of you actually look at what you're wearing? How many of you pay attention to your body? How many of you actually, see if you're the same height, if you're wearing the same clothes? It is more curiouser and curiouser, because what I'm trying to get at is that you have the sensation that you are always in these scenarios. It is always you. The I am is present. And that means that you carry with you the same feelings of self. You'll react the same way, same feelings of self in all of the different background stages. So why is this? Because the aspects you carry within your oversoul don't just cease to exist after this life is over. They will cease to exist everywhere that your oversoul is. And wherever your oversoul is here. And it's there. And it's everywhere, in a sense. I can't truly say how many lives are concurrently existing in the same space or the same time. And that's why I say time is not a real thing, because like I've just expressed. Why is it that you could be somewhere for like a month and then come back here as if 8 hours has just passed? How can you live two places at the same time? And that word time, again, is hard to kind of run away from, right? Because realistically, it's like you're existing in another way or another place, and there is this idea that we're taught here of this idea of time, where really you're just existing in the now, the eternal now, because you can't truly say that what you're exercised in or participating in the dream is right now or in the past or in the future. You don't really have a idea of what time is there. There is no sense of time, really. The more interesting part is that should the oversoul be learning from all of these stations of existence, and you are the same as a soul, no matter which, I guess the best way I could say this is that I truly feel like sometimes that we are just an avatar here. There are these larger versions of you that are somewhat in control of this avatar that sits in front of you right now. And the avatar could be existing in different, let's say, games. There's a game where I'm a male. There's a game where I'm another version of female. There's a game where I am a little child. But the point of what I'm trying to say is that we exist as the I am. I still feel it is me. I can qualify and quantify to myself that I am there. At the same time, I feel the emotions. I feel the fears. I feel everything as if it was me. How is that so? So when we try to think so small about what is actually taking place here, it doesn't really help, because we are trying to reach back inside to understand our inner gnosis, our inner knowing, our thyself that we have forgotten. That is realivening and rekindling in a lot of us, because we cannot deal with the imbalance of the not just the polarities as they are shifting. As the shift continues, more of our memory is coming back. And the more our memory comes back, the more powerful we become. And the more powerful we become, the more we can break down with our social construct of our consciousness contributing with all the other awakened to dematerialize and break down this materialized, let's say, amphitheater of jail that we're all currently coexisting in. And this is just this version. There are other versions, like I've expressed, that we live in. And do we know truly when we wake to this reality how bad or how good the other ones are? We know that when we come out of dreams, we can either feel feelings. That's all we can take with us. The amnesia absolves. It's like, why do we not remember our dreams that well? Some of us, like myself, I make it very, very clear to myself every time I wake up with any type of remembrance. I either write it down or I replay the last scenes over and over again. I try to remember who I was talking to, write it down. I'm always doing that because the more I can remember, the more I can piece together the storyline in that other existence, because it is important to me. Because the more that I pay attention, and the more you pay attention, and the more we pay attention to all this inconsistency and breakdown of the reality that we are put within, not to truly understand that this is the true reality. This is just the projection of what is taking place, maybe in a higher dimensional existence, or it could be the projection of another dimension altogether. And why I say that is because, like I've said in past, when I enter dream states, sometimes I go to certain cities and certain places, and I keep doing mission work, but certain places are similar to the existence we have here. So it's like in one version, I'm in Toronto, but my Toronto in that version doesn't look exactly like the version here. So, like, let's say, for example, the stages are probably maybe somewhat all the same, but they have differing. I mean, for gamers, this would make total sense because I'm not a gamer, but it makes total sense to me when I put it into this virtual reality video game. Because realistically, it's like the projection of all of our combined efforts on a conscious level create the world that we see. However, the world that we see as individuals is different than the world that you see or the world that the next person beside you sees. This is shaped solely by, let's say, their emotions, how they're feeling that day, what vibrational space they're in, what consciousness that they're tapping into on a regular. Like, you could literally be in a 570 consciousness, living in and participating in the 3D material. So realistically, the only difference is that within the material, you've alleviated the stresses, the confinements. Your manifestation has amplified because you're not conformed to the 3D density and all the dense aspects anymore. And you're not also condensed to the thinking and the makeup of that incarceratory makeup, because you have superseded the boxes to some degree. You've gotten out of the boxes of religion. You've gotten out of the boxes of hierarchy. You've gotten out of the boxes of looking at the material, ways of existing. And you've overcome them. They don't phase you. They don't move you. You're not motivated by the egoic, carnal desires that most human beings are. Because again, you've overridden them and you've realized that you are more than that of which they are. So you end up moving in consciousness to a lighter formation of existence. And I don't mean lighter as in a puffy word. I mean it like you are able consciously to absorb more light, meaning the formations of the ideations that permeate into your subconscious computer are actually able or to, let's say, take in a bandwidth that is more light encompassing. Because let's say the language of light that you're able to translate within this chemical computer can process at a higher rate than that of which is in a denser existence, be it that a lower 3D, because you're still shaped by the ego. You have not superseded the ego, so therefore your bandwidth is a lot slower. You will find that as time goes on, a lot of us will start to speak the same light language. And it doesn't have to be that of the language that you may see online. There are different light languages, but that is such a broad term. What I mean is that you're able to communicate in a higher dimensional space, and you would be able to telecommunicate with those that are participating within the same broadband bandwidth that you are. So telecommunication would be just all the easier. Like, for example, I have this a lot of the persons that I'm courted with, I can do this on command. I can do it on, all I really have to say is their name and say, hey, what's up? I'm talking to their higher self. And then when I'm talking to their higher self, I may get a call within the hour, if not less, or maybe a little more, depending on what the 3D aspect is dealing with at the time. This is how I truly talk, by the way. I always interject so much emotion in my other videos when I talk to people, because realistically, like, emotions are so needed and meant to be felt in this existence, but at the same time, understand emotions so thoroughly, you realize that they are of a whole nature. And as you move into that whole nature, you don't have to be distraught by all the lower nature emotions that most people are. I think a lot of the time we stick to the lower ended emotions solely so that we may not rise as high. Because the more you rise, let's say within your inner gnosis, you'll notice that even though you're at a different bandwidth and broadband, or like let's say you're emitting and sitting in that conscious level within the whole, obviously, we're all interconnected. That is, we're all, reflections of each other everywhere we go. The interesting part about it is that some persons will understand and a lot of persons at this stage will not. And that's solely because everyone's at a different stage of evolution or understanding. I have spent a lot of time trying to commune with those in my space, in my, city, etc. But it doesn't mean that I truly am a part of it. And then it's not to say that I think in any way, shape, or form I'm better. It's actually more of a disconnection because I don't remember what it's like to be that way. It's like the more that you start to be one in commune with your actual self, the eternal self that always is, you'll notice that a lot of amnesia starts to hit your life. Like I have a really hard time now remembering my past traumas, my past friends, my past situations. Like obviously memories make up the essence of who you played, like what part you played in this existence, but it doesn't make up who you truly are. So the more I stepped into who I truly am, the more my soul distanced itself from the memories that were amalgamated within this lifetime. And you may notice that that's also happening to you because you're not triggered anymore by what took place, no matter how much it hurt you back then or how much you felt it shaped you. You know that it's for the greater encompassment of the soul's evolution, a parting gift of understanding. But it's interesting because the takeaway of understanding and the gnosis is present. However, you don't recall. I truly think that's a way that the creator or God or source protects us from de-evolving. It's like we got to this stage of evolution in our gnosis to not be brought down by the emotions that we once had, the smaller emotions, the lower ended, let's say lower vibratory emotions, because the lower vibratory emotions were that of the ego. And once you have killed off the ego, it's truly hard to slip back into that. It's so nice to talk to you guys as I truly do speak, as I truly do think. It may make me more lonelier in the, 3D sense, and that's okay. There hasn't been many people. I've had to fake a lot of my life, just to fit in. And it's just like, I'm at the stage of my life where I don't want to fit in anymore. I don't. Because fitting in doesn't get you anywhere. Fitting in just gets you where, in one place and stuck. Fitting in just pegs you into a hole that you can't get out of. That's why sometimes they see people that are like so desperate to be liked by others and desperate to be one of the group and this and that and the other thing. And it's kind of sad because you really just get stuck where you are and you can't grow and you can't blossom further, because once you do, you will lose those persons because they won't be able to come on the ride that you're on and they won't be able to understand where you're coming from. So you might as well just face facts and just evolve. Water always finds its own level type of thing. And unfortunately, for those of you that are, still working through all their unconscious behaviors and their conscious behaviors and just trying to get through like what a narcissist is and what a life theme is and what a life cycle is and all these parts to the whole of each spoke of the wheel, you will find that as time goes on, you will start to make less and less sense with the rest of those that you once had communication with or were a part of or grouped into. You start to really realize that this is where you have to leave them and you have to move forward and know that it may take time for them to catch up, and that's okay. Because realistically, when we all get through this existence, we'll all reconvene and be like, hey, what's up? How was your time? Oh, I saw that you only got to level 30, and then the other person's like, yeah, I got to level 33. And then the other person's like, yeah, I only got to level 18. And the other person's like, oh, there were levels, you know. So we're all at different stages of our existence and understanding. And that's why sometimes, like, yeah, it's, I get really fueled, and when I sometimes, okay, I'll explain what I'm saying. I genuinely feel like to be a part of the human condition, sometimes I have to dip back down. I can't stay in the higher vibratory consciousnesses too long, because then I lose sight of the human condition and what it is to be human. Not that I don't have apathy or empathy, or understand the incorrectness, or the, you know, the heathenism or the egoism, or let's say the futility of power mongering and power hunger, but it becomes so asinine to a degree, because you're just like, well, the more you tap into yourself as a soul spark, or as a and more ancient, and I don't like the word ancient either, because it still refers to a, let's say, a more cycled, evolved soul. That's it. You start to really find more detachment to those smaller forms of self that you are. But then you still have to be the smaller form sometimes just to relate. Like, I would say this, like, a lot of people ask me, you know, all the time, like, how I'm okay to stay by myself and not date and not be with anyone, and you know, why doesn't it bother me that I don't have a partner, and why doesn't it bother me that I don't pursue all the, and truly, the way I see it is, there was a version of me that went after, you know, trying to be a girly girl and try to get a partner and try to find this, that, the other thing when I was in my ego. And the more I walk into who I am, I realize there's going to be fewer and fewer people for myself. And it's not even a sad thing. It's more of a, yeah, I get it thing. Because, and one of my friends was like, oh, maybe it's because you're too picky, or you're too hard on people, or, and I don't even think that's what it is. Playing small in this lifetime has had its place in my life for many years. And to then have to pretend in a next relationship to be small for someone else is not something I'm willing to do anymore. And it's not to say that there aren't really evolved men out there, truly, you know, emotionally evolved, emotionally capable. It's just that the caliber of people is lessening and lessening, and those that are rising find it even harder to meet each other, simply because there's fewer and far between us. And our goal and our mission is not to be all confused with a partner. And, like, to be honest with myself, like, unless somebody was on the exact same jam as me, you know, trying to, you know, help the world and trying to move mountains and you know, could talk about God and angels and aliens and all of that, just like regular jibber jabber, and actually know what they're talking about and actually commune with them, and not just like make shit up that they see from online and reiterate the same garbage, and, you know, and actually like name names and name situations, or could talk about, you know, behind the veil and like what goes down. It's hard to say like, oh, I could just be with Bob, the construction worker who works the 9 to 5, comes home and talks about, you know, the weather and, you know, maybe a slight geopolitical issues, and then hits the hay, you know, the spiciness would not be there. And I certainly would not even want to engage in all that small banter again. And I know that for those of us that are remembering more of who we are, it's really tough, because it gets harder and harder to you know, meet people that are on the same level. And it's not to say that we don't exist. Thank the Lord God for privying us in this lifetime to the internet, because pre-internet it was next to impossible. You had to literally look to Creator to be your soul soulmate slash dating. You know, the fates had to come into play, the energy of the universe, to help you meet the love of your life, or to help you meet those that were kindred. It was all by vibration. And it still is by vibration, but I feel like with online presence, at least, but I also, okay, I'll also say this. I also feel like those that are entrusted into these roles, or are not even roles, like the more you start to know yourself, you remember your role here. And then you're like, well, is getting with somebody really part of what I'm supposed to do? Like, I think I've got too much on my plate to, like, I've got too many places to see, people to meet, to be with someone who wouldn't understand or respect what the whole end goal is, or the whole game plan of this evolution. So it would be like putting on a big facade, not even a facade. I would have to actually act in order to be in a relationship right now, because every person that I have thought made the cut ended up just being full of crap. And it was really sad. A lot of us are going to meet these false persons. I've seen some real ones online, very few and far between. And unfortunately, like, that's the case because it has to be. The more we engage with all of you, and the more you guys remember who you are, and the more you go through your trials, your tribulations, your walk, your Jacob's ladder, your kundalini rising, your chakra expression, your elemental ascension journey, the more you will feel the way we feel, and it's not something that can be understood unless it's walked through. And it's not something that can be mimicked or pretended, because it comes through you. Like I said, the more you host and hold the bandwidth for a higher dimensional existence and consciousness to permeate through your matter body in a more etheric, transistory way, the more you move people out of your way, in a sense. Like, I literally will walk down the street sometimes, and people that don't even know I'm coming will, like, sense me and, like, move out of my, and it's just because we are energetic bodies. So if my field is larger than that person in front of me, my field will bounce against their field, and that person in their actual soul sense will be like, oh, someone's behind me, and they'll shift naturally. The person hasn't looked with their, like, 3D eyeballs that I'm coming, but I noticed that, like, they just shift out of the way. And it's because energetically the soul recognizes that there's another soul coming through, another light being passing them. But I'm saying, because the more absorption of light that you can channel through this being that you're in currently waiting to, transform out of, I would imagine. To be honest, I wonder if you just phase out into the next existence, or if the existence elevates with your manifestation. That's another thing. Because obviously, like I said, if you can actually master the emotions, and you can actually master some elements of the soul here, a lot of things will open up and be easier for you. And what's odd is, like, some people feel like, oh, that's supposed to translate into millions of dollars, and that's supposed to translate into this, into that, into the next thing. But really, it just depends on the person and the soul and what their mission is. Like, I've sat here and thought myself, like, why don't I want these things? And if I really did truly want them, like, could they not be mine? But I also feel like when you manifest anything, you gotta really want it. You know what I mean? And in some ways, I know that come the time that I have my bigger goals playing out, like, each time we want something that is for the greater good, or needed for our soul mission, usually the universe, aka our creator, in some lovely manner always provides. Because it's like as if your inheritance is being parted out as you go. So some people will be getting this larger inheritance soon enough, when there's changeover, and they will take those big chunks of money and they will go start their projects. Or there's those that are on the month-to-month plan or the monthly installment plan, because they like to evolve in a more organic way, because not for nothing, like, more money, more problems. You know what I'm saying? Some of us, like, for myself, like, I have these talks sometimes as to what I truly try to avoid in this lifetime, and why do I avoid being seen, and why do I avoid trying to go after big sums of money, etc. Because I sometimes feel like I'm missing a gene or a bone that others have, even when it comes to being a girly girl. And I know it's a form of protection. I'm protecting myself from something. What am I protecting myself from? Why do I emasculate everything? Why am I more masculine? Because my male masculine side is protecting my feminine side because there is no partner to step in to protect me. There's so many, there's one primarily that washed their hands of their contract and chose not to. So therefore, I would absolve that soul's, I guess, contractual percentage of masculine trait to overcompensate for the protection of my divine feminine side. Because I am a soul being needing to encompass both sides and at the same time find the balance, strike the balance between the both. Why do I wish to not have so many monies, even though I know that monies would contribute to larger projects that would be for the greater good, for the greater purpose of all? I feel like my personal soul is part of the I can't be trusted with big lump sums of money. I'll probably go blow it style. Not that I'm a very conventional person, but I know me. Like, I would probably invite like 1,000 people and say, let's go party like it's 1999 and just love and light and like love the night, type of deal. So I'm more conscious of my traits and my aspects, and I say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll take monthly sums so that I can actually manifest at a slower rate, but it'll be there exactly when I need it, type of thing. Because we have to understand fundamentally who we are. Like, I'm somebody that always, when I have a lot of money, I spend money on the people I love. That I know. And when I am a frugal person when times are tough and I can make a penny go the distance, you know what I mean? But at the same time, when I've got like G's stacked up, the first thing I'm thinking is, let's get away, let's go vacation, let's take our friends, let's go do this, let's go. So it's like I feel that I live a lot in the moment. And so if somebody were in the moment to give me tens of millions of dollars, I think in the moment I would do something very frivolous and not act in the best accordance. And that's just being real with who we are, right? Like, we need to know where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are. And to think that the aspects that we encompass don't have both of those, that is not true. Like, for example, one of my aspects is very driven and has a lot of know-how. However, he is very, very, very bold and very egotistical. And not in the sense like he's verbose or like over the top, in the sense it's just like his ego is a very strongly corded part of what makes up his existence. And it's not to say that all those around him are not the same. So it's like you're just following suit with what is the norm within your existence. But then it's like the correlation is very hard to strum. I can't play his chord too often because the version of me that comes out is quite pompous and doesn't equate to the way we do things in this dimensional space. And then I have another aspect who's very maniacal, very well, geared towards annihilation. Like, not annihilation of the human populace. That's not what I mean. Is let's just say, like, when Napoleon would, devise how to take over and conquer. He was very maniacal in his way of being, and that's like one of my aspects is very maniacal. But that means he's very good at his job. You know what I mean? When asked to create or collaborate or educate or to formulate action plans, or let's say annihilation action plans, he's quite inept. But again, it doesn't correlate with who I am here. Because trust me, like I said, my darker side, should I have been that person? And it's not to say that I have not been my darker side when I was on vices. That's why I totally tell people, do not go and do drugs and do not go and drink a lot. I mean, go do it. But what ends up happening is a lot of those darker aspects have like a playground to manipulate you as an oversoul with. So I don't recommend that, because if you truly are someone who does not allow, because you in a sense are the goalkeeper here, because you're the last line of defense, like you're like the lowest dimensional, like let's say the rock, like if you're fishing, right, like you got this like line, right, that's like up in the heavens, aka the fish pole, and then you're like this leader weight at the bottom, and so you're like the last line of defense to like keep things organized and like aligned. So if someone in my dimensional existence can actually, equate that maybe that's too much to the dark side and that's too much to the light side, then there is some like harmonization in the middle. Whoa. Thank you. I just got a big chime in that I'm correct on that. Thanks, guys. Really loud. That came from up high. Really high. Was that you? Congratulations. But yeah, that was when you get those chime ups. I'm just letting you know, like that's just like your higher self, one of your higher selves, congratulating you for your train of thought within this smaller dimensional existence. So it looks like, sounded like maybe a 9. I'd give that a 9. That was really like, when you can't even hear the like that's piercing high. So yeah, I'd say about 9. Anyways, so you're the last line of defense in terms of like keeping all your peoples in order. They're obviously all keeping you in order within this chaotic realm of materialism, but given the fact that you cannot fully fathom the way of being within their own dimensional space, and they can fully see what you're up against. And I mean, I've only been privy to see my dimensional selves, a couple of them, like actually like go into their body and like see through their eyeballs a couple times. But to hold the resonance, it's hard. Like, you have to practice at it. And at the same time, it's like for them to come down is easy. For you to rise up is harder, right? And so I've been privied a couple times. I can always see them in like a, let's say, an astral sense, like where I'm just like a fly on the wall. But to actually embody them, meaning to step into their suit or to their, not even suit, I wouldn't even say that, because their bodies are like different makeup than ours, you know what I mean? And then it's like to step into it and then feel their emotional state and where they're coming from, and then see like the reasoning behind why they have the outlook on their life and how they play their character within their generational situations that they're put up against. Like, I have a rep that, like, I go to, like, just so you guys know, Mars is got people on it, not in the 3D. Every dimensional existence of a planet has, like, if you could look at like channels, you switch the channel to a dimensional space and you've got peeps on Mars. Whereas like if you look at it here, and again, that temporal thing kind of throws me, because I'm like, is it just that dimensionally I'm seeing into the future and therefore there's life on Mars? Or I'm seeing into the past and there was life on Mars, but then we're all concurrently living in the ultimate now. It's a mind fuck in my head, I'll tell you that much. But I've been to Mars, and there is a base, and reptilians live with humans, but they're not humans from now. They're humans from like the future, or what we would quantify as the future. But technically, would those future humans come back in time to be here now? Isn't that a mindfuck? But they also live in a hierarchy scheme, and they have their own stressors and their own ways of being. And like there's love, and there's still that formality of dating and all that stuff, and class system that you would find in, like, I would say modern version India right now, with the caste system they have, like, only the high ranking deal with the high ranking, or our class system in general. So they have all of those pressures as well, you know what I mean? And it's like when you step into that, it's like you can understand that they are next level in terms of conscious awareness as to their part that they play within the scheme of their dimensional existence. And then when you keep rising, you start to, like I said, you'll go from variance to variance of the polarities, and you'll see like you could even go to the very light side, the bubbly, overly bubbly side. Like sometimes I would go to like Palladian ships, and I used to call them the good ship lollipop. Like like seriously, like I would go to these ships, and like, not for nothing, they're very beautiful and handsome people, but man, do I feel like it's LA on Prozac. Like literally, like just the way, like nothing is bad, nothing is wrong, and then even if people do wrong, it's still like in the most positive light of understanding that I'm nowhere near in this dimensional existence. You know what I'm saying? So you're just like sitting there and you're like, wow, that's a little too fluffy for me, and it's like there's that existence of like more higher dimensional light space, like, and when I say light space, I mean it's like their makeup of their aspects, or their their own personalities within their dimensional existence afford so much more, like I was saying, broadband to come in, and then it's like they can encompass so many light, higher vibed emotions such as love, compassion, understanding to the, the Yeshua nth degree, that it's like they just, that's why I call them the good ship lollipops, because you just like, you walk in there and you're just like, wow, like there's absolutely not nothing you could do wrong, but it's very hard to slate a Palladian. I've never been able to, not that I want to. Like, they don't like you being mischievous and stuff because they don't understand the capacity sometimes to do practical joking, because like it seems harmful to the, the symbiotic or symbiosis of their goodwill and their good nature. So I would honestly say like they can have a laugh, but sometimes like humor has a cruel streak in it, and that's where the funniness comes from, and Palladians don't really get that. But I digress. I mean, then you could have aspects of the Arcturian nature, and some of them are just so cerebral, like so cerebral, to the point that, like, I don't know if you guys ever watched Star Trek, but they kind of remind me of Vulcans. But there's actually a like a higher dimensional version of Vulcan that I've met, and they make the Arcturians look like laugh factories, to be honest. But Arcturians are very humbled, understanding beings, like to the point that they understand the polarities very well, and their nature is to heal. Organic base, like they're a mixture. Like we think of organic like light and sound and all that. And trust me, Arcturians do heal in those modalities quite often. But I feel like they put a technical, mathematical, quantum mathematics to it, so that like the basis of it is not coming from a natural, like they would be the ones that will look at solfeggio and they would say solfeggio is the representation of something bigger or more macrocosmic within the universe, whereas like a natural based healing within the ebb and flow of naturality. Yeah, I know, Palladian, I get it. Like the whimsy. The Nordics? Yeah. But not even as tough as the Palladians. Yeah, because you have to understand, those from the Pleiades, there's multiple versions. Like, there's the ones that are on ship, and then there's the ones on planet. And the ones on planet, there's different planets where they actually are like that version of Amazonic fairyland, or is still stuck in a realm of, like, let's say, like their evolutionary state is higher, but they're like, I've literally been to parts of the Pleiades where they are in a feudal system still, meaning riding horses and building with stone castles and all of that. But their understanding of magic or elemental magic is so much broader. Like, we're talking like Merlin styles to the 10th degree. So it's like they use understanding of the elven and the fairies, but they have different names, but it's just to like give you an understanding. And it's like every being has its own essence of magic, and they can control forces, much like we would say like someone could control wind and rain and things of that nature from a natural aspect. So they can control things like let's say light and electricity. But it's so hard to explain, because like the fundamentals of the rubrics of what those things are can be controlled by these Pleiades, these persons in the Pleiades. But the Pleiades is large, so I don't exactly know the exact planets, but I've seen it astral traveling. So I know that they use more of a, let's say, what we would call, like when we look to our aborigine versioned medicine and healing and magic, they probably would have embodied some of that understanding and that gnosis from culture of the Pleiades that lives in that manner, because they're using the elements and speaking forth to, let's say, the elemental giants that are here. And when I say giants, like let's say mountains or massive trees that have so much knowledge within the formation of their existence. So if you are a Pleiadian who is from a realm similar to that, you could literally have a whole different plethora of healing capabilities versus, let's say, an Arcturian who is doing it more from a scientific / mathematical state. If that makes any sense. like there is a true like somewhat divide between what you will see like in terms of like the technical versus the natural or organic style of energy manipulation, because like once someone can harness energy any way, shape, and form, they may not need a projectile tool or weapon to do so. Some of them can just control the actual element and create the weapon from their own capabilities with either their appendages, etc. Wow, this is a long video, but I hope that gives you guys an understanding of what I mean, because truly we are such intergalactic expansive beings. So for me to sit there with Jimmy the construction worker, I really don't know how far that would go, if you get what I'm saying. I am just like at a point where I'm like, I really can't fake the funk anymore. I just, I'm tired of faking the funk, like trying to pretend that I'm like, everyone else I see. It's really exhausting. As I'm saying this, I realize how alone I probably am in all of this. But that's okay, because maybe there's other loners like me out there that are just like living in a interdimensional existence, and we're all trying to bring back the gnosis that is which has been endowed to us, and we're unlocking it as we go, to the point that we're just so, past the point that maybe it's too much of a plethora of understanding to even make those on this planet aware of all at one shot. Like, I literally just spent an hour rambling about all the things that we can be. And this is how my mind works 24/7, 365. I feel like I've just like shifted, because I have two channels, like I have my Up High Healing channel that specifically talks about the higher self and the higher consciousness. I'm almost at 1,000 patrons there, and then I'll be doing lives, and we're going to do these breakout rooms where I talk individually about whatever I need to when it comes to the higher self and the higher consciousness, and all of us tapping into it. But this one, I think, is just going to be like just spitting the gnosis that's all up in my head. Like, I got too much going on upstairs or in here. And it's been high time. I've been so stuck in this box of people like, oh, why don't you do the scriptures properly? How dare you talk about God this way? God is not a woman. It's like, come on, man. I'm tired, okay? Like, I've met God, okay? I've met God. You know what I mean? Like, do you see my face? Like, I literally... I don't have this, oh, it is so awe-inspiring to meet God in these other avatars, etc. But when it's so commonplace, day to day, month to month, it's so in you that you're just like, am I supposed to be awe-inspired with everything that I am with on the inside, that is all interconnected with the all, that is all of us, that is within one of the most awesome spaces, that is so understandable. And then when you meet, and it's like you're really not meeting anything external, you're really just meeting yourself on the inside, and then you're realizing that you're all of one all the time as well. It's not so overwhelming when you realize you're just like going home and meeting your homies again, and you're going home and giving mom and dad a hug. It just changes for you. It's probably like how people feel like, it's a difference between like going to meet the royals, like going to England and meeting the royals, and being a royal yourself. You know what I mean? Because you're just like, and these are just titles and whatever, but I'm just trying to say, like, I don't think anything is outside of the capabilities of any human being. The separation is the problem. And the fact that you think that you and God are not together, or you are not, female and male, masculine and feminine, walking in a, material being, trying to encompass this idea of duality. And then, Yeshua is our main teacher. We always have to listen to Yeshua because he did the walk for us and showed us the amnesia that are here, like how to get out of the amnesia. That's really all he was trying to do. He's like, here's my rule book. This is what I did to get out of the amnesia. I went to Egypt. I went to India. I went to, China. I went to all these, Tibet, all these different places to reclaim my memories and do these different things. And then I returned to my people, my original place of existence. Why would he return? Because that's where your vibration is the strongest, is where you're stationed within this, grid that we're placed in. So then he goes to start his ministry with all that acquired amnesia being wiped away. He knows fully the whole time. He's got his angels and his guides and everyone else that's cheering him on from Venus and Sirius and every other planet that his embodiment has been, his aspects have been just like our aspects are currently in this moment in time, and we take those aspects and we work within them, and then when we go to different places we may encapture some of that gnosis again. That's why I know I got to travel all kinds of places to see what pieces I pick up around the world that I left off the last times I was here, or the different versions of myself that I've been in other existences. So then it's like, oh, if I go see that place and I sit in that again, back to the whole video thing, a video game thing. It's like I go there and I go pick up my coin. I take my coin and I put it in my coin chest that is my heart, put it that way. And then it's like I have a stronger, deeper connection. Or like, what's that when you can touch pieces of something and then it's like you're interconnected with that being more so. Like, for example, I think I got to go to China because I got to go interconnect with Kuan Yin. I'll just put it out there. I feel like I got to go to Egypt because I think I've got something to do with Nefertiti. I think that's the person that comes out the most. I mean, Isis is amazing too, but that isn't my strongest hold. Even though I do listen and I have read a lot about her. I have this thing for like Nefertiti and for Amon. So I don't know what pieces I will pick up when I go there, or what will phase into me and phase out of me, or if I'll have past life recognitions. But I don't like that word recognitions. Like I said, they're all concurrently happening. So I might step into a slipstream where in which I can remember who I was or am or currently is in that existence. I gotta go to Mauritius. That's another one that keeps calling me all the time. I got to get to Mauritius. I don't know why. Maybe that would be pre-diluvial, and also to do with maybe some Aboriginal existency that is maybe intertied with those that are familiar with the inner earth persons, because they feel like I was an intermediary at some point for inner earth. At what time frame on this existence, I'm not sure. I don't recall Atlantis. I don't recall Lemuria. I do recall maybe around the World Fair time. I think that was probably my last incarnation, or the one before it. And I think maybe like pre-diluvial, but I don't feel like, maybe Moo. Most made sense to me, whereas like all those other names never like rang bells. Moo did. Tartaria never did. Or maybe I just don't come to this Pokidoke place very often. Maybe it was a big ask. Maybe I pulled the short straw in the straws of my planet, or my my interdimensional short straw stick. But I do remember jumping off ship to come here, because I guess like you have to be placed in the Milky Way, like, it was crazy. Like I remember being on ship, and I remember being in my white suit, and such a sexy suit too. I have a nice body in that formation. I guess you could just be like the hottest version of yourself. I remember saying goodbye to a loved one. He looked really good in his burgundy outfit, and but it was funny. We never formulated our relationship on ship. It's always on the hush hush, because he was higher ranked and I was lower ranked, or maybe it was the other way around. But we weren't allowed to express our love, so to speak. And all I remember was saying goodbye to him, and then just like peeling out, and it was so much fun. They just hover above the iconosphere, and then it's like you're free falling like you would for skydiving. And I think that's why I want to do skydiving so badly too, because I want to have that experience again. But yeah, just free falling out of the iconosphere was just amazing. And I wasn't even scared at all. I just I live for that shit. I live for going through portals as well. well, I don't know what they're called. Maybe they're called slipstreams. I don't know about you guys, but I do a lot of navigation. Like there's these ships that are manned, one manned, and you go through these I don't know, I think they're slipstreams, like where you can get through, or wormholes. Maybe they're wormholes, but they're multicolored and multifaceted colors. And I guess that could just be the stars like passing you really quickly because they're going at such high velocity. And when I mean velocity, I'm talking not Mach, I'm talking like light years wise. And I just love that. Like it's a one person ship, and you're kind of like you're on a bobsled, but like backwards. Like you're actually, your hands are like forwards, and you're just like going through these wormholes, and you're trying to navigate because like you can navigate into different timelines really quickly, or different dimensional existences really quickly. So to keep computation of like how you're going to stay on the same timeline and like actually get to the nebula or to the like you could literally like pull out of it like 2 seconds faster and end up not in the right quadrant, or not in the right part of space that you want to be in. So it's kind of, it's one of those things where you got to like have like precise like reactionary timing. And I honestly love navigating those. I love planetary work until my eye comes back on. You know, I have to wait every night to like slip into theta waves, or to what is that wave when you're about to go to bed, to actually like use my eye in astral travel. So sad. Something, or some, I don't even want to say someone. I mean, it's kind of messed up because I realized like in this lifetime, everything is pointing to me not coming into my full flagrante. And I know, and I don't like this word devil, because like really and truly, but I do believe there is a dark overlord or essence or energy that, you know, made up this matrices, so to speak. They say it's Yaldabaoth or whatever name that is, but you know, the creation of the cosm, something of that nature. Wanting to, you know, I don't understand why people want to like be like God and like take away or be like powerful and this and that just to be like overseeing minions. It doesn't make sense to me, because it's like if you're all part of the all, it's like it's fucking kick-ass. So I don't know why you would even want the power to like, oh look, I've got my little you know, my little archons and my little archaons just like trying to figure out who the fuck they are. You know, I honestly, I feel like we're like these gigapets for like larger beings. And it's kind of like, do you really feel powerful when you're the master of a gigapet? Like, aka the world, aka human beings. Like, we're not that bright, you know what I mean, in this form. So it's like you controlling us and us thinking you're a god. That's like the smallest credence to power, because we're just like little dinky beings here. That's like ants looking up to a human and going, oh, hail a human, you know? Or like, what movie was that where it was like these beings were like locked in a locker in the train station. Oh yeah, MIB. Yeah, it was just like the MIB locker, you know, where these little you know, Jay puts his like watch and it gives them like sunlight, and they're like, oh hail Jay, and then his watch dies, and then K puts his, and they're like, oh hail K. Like that's how I feel like these lesser negatory beings act in the infinite expanse of the all. Because it's like you've just like taken a sliver and tried to call it your own. You've just made your own little cosmic farm to play farm heroes with, or farm saga, or whatever the hell they're doing, you know. It's just, I don't get it. But anyways, that being that does this here in this existence, this planetary existence, keeps the wool over our eyes, so to speak. And then even then, it's like, why not give us all of our third eyes on? And I was given mine, and then I don't know what I did to jank it up. Like, I see very far into the distant future and stuff, but in my mind's eye, not my third eye. I mean, I want the eye where I could see everything that was going on in this existence, the veil purser, you know, so I could live within the films of the veil, or you know what I mean? Like, the kaleidoscope eye. Put it that way. Because it's like I could fine tune it, I go to see this, I fine tune it. Anyways, I feel like there's two things being withheld from me in this lifetime, just so I don't like tap out of the game, I guess. A partner, like love, like actually meeting somebody worth my fucking time and whatever. And my eye, because it's like I feel like, why is it that I have my eye when I go to sleep, but I cannot keep it on when I turn on? Like, I'm fully well aware it's not because I'm too old, like, you know, like, oh, I'll pop if I see what I used to see again. It's like I kind of have some grooming and some awareness, total awareness to a degree, you know what I mean? And then it's like, so what's the hang up there? And then what's the hang up with love? Like, I literally feel like in the last years, I've had almost every person I've ever been slightly interested in talking to kind of exited out of my existence, like the Truman Show. It's like, oh, I show interest in one dude, and then all of a sudden he no longer exists in my time and space. It's been happening way too often that I can't believe that it's not. Because what I truly think is that I was kind of conned out of my counterpart. That's for one. And I'm not the first being to have to go through that. So did Sophia. You know what I mean? So when I read her story, I was like, oh, okay. So more of us get conned out of that at some point. But then we always have Yeshua to kind of be like our guide and our teacher. And I feel like that's who I've had most of all of this existence. And then it's like, at the same time, I'm like, why is it that they don't want me to find that counterpart or that person? Because it's like, I am a very large-hearted being. Like, meaning in the sense, like, with love on my side, oh, baby, you better believe. I'd be like this crazy force you couldn't even reckon with. You know what I mean? And I don't think that puppeteer wants me to find love, like the love. I know God does, but those contracts, or that contract, went null and void. And freedom of being and free will is a thing, you know. And that was like my plan C. You know what I'm saying? My plan C didn't work out. I haven't met the plan B, if there is a plan B or a plan A anymore. I don't know. Because like I said, everybody's getting shooed out of my existence. It's because if I find love, that's the last piece of my puzzle. I've never found love my entire life. Love has never found me. I know that I have so much love to give, and I am so much more powerful when I have someone to give love to. And it's like, because I have to keep all of that for myself and manifest it within my own world and keep true to myself and keep growing as an individual, it just recycles back into my system. Whereas it doesn't, like, I mean, it grows, but not as exponentially with the motivator behind it. Because the thing about like being in love is that it is that reflection, you know, of yourself, but at the same time that you're bouncing off of back and forth. And that creates some insane friction. And I think that friction is what amplifies the capacity, or it just amplifies. It amplifies me. The things I can do when I'm in a relationship, even bad ones. You'd be surprised. Because it's weird. It's not to say that I wouldn't do the same things for myself, but it's like when I know that there's a bigger cause for others to work towards, oh man, I'm unstoppable. That's the truth. It's like if somebody asked me to do something, and let's say it's not even if it's for payment or whatnot, like we're all motivated by money. But let's say this is somebody near and dear to me, and they're like, oh, this is impossible to pull off. You know what I mean? No, it ain't. Because of my capacity to love. And that's just a person, like a friend. Imagine the person I'm in love with, that I finally get to be in love with. I've had to settle my entire life for bench warmers, and if the darker side were to actually fuck up and give me my counterpart, you better believe this would be a force that no dark entity could compete with. And that's why I just feel like I've had these counterfeits come my way, because the counterfeits were supposed to show me a reflection of who this person is to a degree. But then it's like when I got face to face with the counterfeit, I was like, oh shit, it's not you. It looks like you, but it doesn't smell like you. It looks like you, but it doesn't feel like you. And it's like every time I would see like the counterfeit, I was like, oh, you know, there's so much, like they're so close. But that's not them. it's like so close, but it's not them. And it's like, it's just to kind of, play with my heart even more. So I know that there's something to be said for those of us that are on this in this ascension process, because a lot of us are single, and I think it's because that darker being or darker energy does not want us to combine. It would be literally a game changer and a game ender, I think, for them. So this is a little bit about me, more of the evolved onion coming to pass here. So if you do like what I'm saying, please like, please share, please subscribe. I don't know, maybe you guys do like these longer winded conversations. If you guys got questions about anything astral or temporal, or shoot at me. Let's chat it out. Let's, mano y mano, testa to testa. I love talking to people about this stuff. I could talk about this stuff all day. Have you not noticed? But love you guys lots. Peace out.